yeah, that was a brief in terms of how I started my journey and where I am presently right now. So with this presentation, uh, I'm trying to for full disclosure, I've completed my CFA back in 2019. So a lot of things have changed after that, especially since COVID. They have brought in more timelines in terms of the exam frequency have increased, and it's been now a computer based rather than a paper based study when we gave the exams back in 2019. So, but the concepts and the fundamentals remain the same. And I'm hopefully with this presentation, it'll be helpful for you in, if you're already there in the CFA journey, or if you're starting to begin in this process of how you should go about it. The important thing to consider here is that we'll be focusing more on places. How do you decide? And so there's one thing is there's a lot of information available out there as to how you can register, what are the fees and everything. So it's going to skim through those parts, but I'm going to focus on more part that if you are looking to make your progress towards the CFA journey, how you can go about it, like giving you a step-by-step guide as to if you're looking, hey, what, I want to do CFA, then how do you decide as to which are the steps that you should be doing to complete your CFA program, what are the things that you should keep in mind. So having said that, we'll deep dive into the presentation. um, so yeah, as I mentioned over here, briefly, that we are covering in some part about the curriculum overview. The second part is about the study commitment and preparation. I'll be focusing on this part more. Also on the course material and resources, what's available to you, and the other parts are career aspects and job opportunities, and the CFA charter, and how you can leverage that charter with the use of being part of CFA Society of your the local region, like the CFA Society Toronto, so and stuff like that. So having said that, let's deep dive into our first topic. So as people generally know that CFA has three levels, right? It's level 1, 2, 3. And what I'm more excited about the things that for who I have who will be starting the CFA journey very soon is that there have been some changes that's coming in from 2025, where they have introduced private wealth and private markets. So I haven't. So of course, it's a new change that's coming in, and I think it's really amazing that the institute has come up with this new additions that are going to be part of it. But here they are focusing also on passive investing, ETFs, and how do you look at the what are the expense ratios, and how do you actually go about building a wealth that could actually be helpful even when you are doing it as yourself as an individual. And it also focuses on, if you are part of an investment team, like a private equity fund, how those GP and LP structure work and everything. So those all of those changes are coming part of 2025. That's the changes that the CFA Institute is going to bring in from 2025. So yeah, that seems exciting. And the third part is, yeah. So in terms of, whenever you look at the CSA curriculum, they they bring a lot of focus on ethics and professional standards. So ethics is something that will be part of all of the three levels. And it does, how much ever it sounds kind of easy to understand, that ethics, it probably, when you see it on the face of it, you may not you may have some apprehension as to how detailed could that questions be. But trust me, when it comes to ethics, they are the CFA Institute is very stringent in terms of how they want the students and their members to be, a part of the industry and be ethical at the same time. So on your exams and all throughout all the three levels, ethics, even if it is not a very major part of the portion, um, it is recommended that you understand, practice, and get those answers correct when it comes to ethics especially. So having said that, I'll just move on quickly to the next part. How does this exactly curriculum break out to? So over here, what you see is each of the topics that's flowing in from ethics, and how is the percentage bifurcation for each of the levels. So each level you have different percentage allocation. As you can see, the ethics is 20% part of the first level, and it's kinds of decreased down in level 2 and level 3. But having said that, even if they decrease in terms of percentage, it's there is a very high reliance, that's placed on ethics. So make sure whenever you are doing the preparation, or whenever you are working towards your CFA program, that place a special focus on ethics and getting those answers right. So having said that, we can take a look at exactly what are the other components that goes along when you want to study for and prepare for CFA exams. Um, so it's one is about the quantitative methods. So time value of money, probability statistics, or regression analysis, all of those things. So what they do is typically when you see level 1, 2, and 3, is level 1 is more about theoretical understanding of those concepts. So say if, for example, if I were to talk about something like options, right? So on level 1, they will focus more on, if you're understanding that what are the different types of option, what's a put call, what is a put, what's a bear call, and then what's a butterfly option, and so there's a lot of different, there is a lot of, so they would be focusing on whether on, asking questions that answers that, whether are you able to understand those options, are you able to understand the concept that's underlying that, the learning statement outcome. So when they say, what's a butterfly option, so in that case they would be testing your knowledge as to seeing as to, whether you understand what exactly goes about, do you understand what that option is, right? What's a forward, what's a future, right? So those kind of things. Then on level 2 they do a switch. So a lot of times even the learn, so in this curriculum you have something called as a learning statement outcome, LOS. So LOS is kind of your index as to, what exactly is you will be studying in CFA. When you see LOS for level 1 and level 2, you will find a lot of topics have an overlap. So probably LOS name might have not changed also. So it's the same name, but on level 1 they'll be testing out your knowledge more on depths of whether you're able to understand it, and level 2 it's all about applications. So now on when you come for the same thing, when you come on level 2, they'll be asking you questions on lines of, are you able to calculate the value of that option, or what would happen. So that now that's more on the calculations line. So it's very important that when you are preparing for your level 1, get your base foundation really strong, because this is going to help you a lot in terms of just not level 2 and level 3. Because if you were to skip topics, still get done with level 1, your life could become a lot difficult when you are attempting for level 2 and level 3. So it's that's what I always tell, that level 1 is all about understanding the concepts, and level 2 is about applying for those concepts, right? So yeah, while we are on that topic, so what happens is in level 1 versus level 2 is one of the biggest change in something that probably we if you have studied all part of your educational background back in India, something that you are not very exposed to is case study questions. So case study questions, what typically it happens is, that's a format that a lot of institutes, including the CPA and the CFA Institute, test you on basis of. So case studies, you have a big essay paragraph on an item set, and you have to read through all those information, and then there will be a set of questions that you need to answer based on the case studies. So what happens in level 2, if you have no, if you haven't had experience dealing with that, with those type of questioning and answering, it becomes a little difficult for you. So that's the problem even I faced back in India when I did my CFA level 2, was to get into the habit of solving a case study, because and keeping a time in mind. So that's another thing that we can discuss later, is that, so what happens is that when you are faced with that kind of challenge, what becomes important, that you just not only understand what you are supposed to learn, you should not be just well versed with the type of questions that are going to come in, but now you should be well versed how to answer them. Because when you're answering those questions, in level 2 it becomes a challenging at first, and it becomes even more challenging when you're trying to complete your question paper. So typically in level two, me across, that's what even a lot of my friends face the same thing when we are preparing for level two, is that people couldn't complete their question paper in time. So that's where that becomes, it's really important. So whenever you're planning for your level two studies, you just have to make sure that you just don't complete the syllabus. You give enough and sufficient time in the end, so you are actually able to sit down and practice those items and questions. So if you have done your CPA, you are good with the the essay type question and case study, and you're good with the format. That's good. You have a lot of help there. But if you have not done that kind of structural study before, it's going to be important that you get to this, that you should be getting more and more into the rhythm of solving those essay question, and then how do you face that in the exam. So in level 2, that becomes the most challenging part of it. When you see level 1 and 2 level, so in level 2 you have those essay questions, and how do you answer those, right? So spend a lot of time, especially when you are planning your whole study, and especially if you're not done those kind of question answer formats earlier. I would recommend you allocate a lot of time, because I learned it the hard way. I had to give, so I passed level 2 in my second attempt, and that was the learning that came in from the first attempt, was that um, I couldn't complete my question paper on time. And then it's a big learning, because back when I gave the exams, you could appear, we had just level 2 and 3 only once a year. So if you fail in 2016, you bye bye, see you 2017 and the next time, kind of a thing. So things have got a lot easier, because now you have more exams coming in during the year, and but it's still a lot of investments. Think about it. So each of the exams cost easily $1,000 US, a plus kind of thing. So make sure that you approach that with the right mindset, because there's a lot of financial investment that will go along with it. So, having said that, and looking at, probably back to, in terms of looking at the other topics, that I mentioned over here, is quantitative. You have it in level 1 and 2. It goes away in level 3. Financial reporting, again, you have it in just level 1 and 2, goes away level 3. So you see in a lot of those concepts, when you see any on the right, so they have already tested you out on level 1 and 2. So in those topics, whatever the maximum that they can, test your knowledge and everything, they are getting it done in level 1 and 2. So what happens in level 3? So when you see on the percentage allocation and everything, on the bottom, you have something called as a wealth planning. So in terms of this wealth planning, some very interesting topics that you would be coming across in level 3 in terms of wealth planning is, there are topics such as, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to put you in the shoes of someone who is a planner, right? So say if you are a CFA, you become a portfolio manager yourself, and you are managing money for, so when I say I'm portfolio manager, on the lines of someone who is managing people's asset, on a personal level basis. So say if I, as an individual, and I'm a CFA, then in that case, I can go out and I can work with people, and manage, help them understand their goals and the risks, and then manage their funds, because this is the whole crux of it. Now when you're in level 3, it's going to get all practical, because they are going to start talking about behavioral things, like psychological things, because this becomes very important. If you're managing people's money, what's going to happen is you're going to face a lot of psychological biases. What so as I'm not sure. So if in your personal life, if you have tried to go down that path of managing your own funds, and based on the platform and everything, sometimes they would ask you some questions. This something might come to your mind is stuff. They would be talking about questions and trying to understand what your risk tolerance is. So they will ask you questions in terms of, how do you see losses? How do you, are you a person who gets easily you are a fearful person when it comes to losses, and how do you see in terms of profits and everything? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to understand what exactly is your risk tolerance. So understanding that risk tolerance, it becomes very important when you are managing people's money, because someone who is in terms of risk tolerance, someone who understands this concept, someone who understands uh, how exactly the investments work. There's a cycle. You can have profits in a year, you can have losses in a year. Good, that guy has a deeper understand that person has a deeper understanding of what exactly goes in the risk tolerance. But if someone who is not very well versed in terms of finances, what's how do they look about at losses? Some people might have a bias in terms of, I want to play safe. I don't want to have a lot of losses. And then there'll be some people who would play it even more safe and have stuff like, I don't want to have losses ever, right? So as part of this learning, what's going to happen is they'll make you understand how you can go about. They'll give you tools how you can go about educating those people, and how do you get an understanding what exactly is the psychological mindset of the investor, and then how you can navigate and um, how you can explain to that person about the different products, what exactly timeline they're looking in terms of investments. And then based on that, you would be recommending solutions that okay, you know what, I understand. So you are telling me you have a 20-year timeline, and you're saying you don't want losses. What if I were to tell you, I can have your money grow, say in a typical fixed income product or a GIC and stuff like that, at say 5% till year to 20 years? Or what if I were to tell you, if I can grow your money say at 8%, and some years you are going to have fantastic returns, some years you are going to have 15, 18%, in some years you are going to have losses 5, 10, 15%. But on an overall cycle, you are going to earn this much. So all those education and understanding first of the client's psychology, the client's goals, so all those exercises as to how you can understand and manage people's money, all of that is covered in the wealth planning. So that becomes a lot important when you are given out in the world, because by level 2 they have tested everything. Like, options, good, you can do a pricing, you can do the pricing of an option, how future works, you can do the calculation for that, good, great. Now, but what do we do with that? So you, in level 3 is where they make you prepare for the real life world, in terms of how do you go about actually applying, and what are the things that as a practical application that you are going to face. So that's where level 3 is kind of a different ball game. um, in my personal suggestions, I've always and the conversations that I've had, people have always had difficulty in level 2 more compared to level 3 now. So see, this sounds kind of crazy. Why would a particular level be easier than the next one, right? It's supposed to increase in terms of difficulties. So typically what happens is level 2, you see the type of topics that are being covered here. It's 5, 10, 15. So they're covering a vast portion of it. And understand, this is CFA. You have just one day of exam. And all of this is going to come flying at you in one given point of day in just 2 sessions. So and you talk about, if someone who's coming from a CA mindset back in India, we would have each paper at different days and stuff like that. Here, that's not the case. You're facing everything in a single day, and you are facing them in the essay, in the case study basis. So that's where things becomes a lot difficult when it comes to level 2. And if you, with the right mindset and everything, with the right preparation, I don't think it's very difficult. You can, if you approach things, you understand things, and you have guidance, you should be able to easily clear, be it level 2 or level 3. It's just about understanding and preparing well. So having said that, I'll move on to the next slide. In terms of exam patterns, so this is something that changed, that came in, I think, post 2020. One is that they had a computer-based testing. Earlier it was paper-based, and now you have level 1 4 times a year, and then twice a year for level 2 and 3, which I think is fantastic. You don't, in an unfortunate event that you're not able to clear an exam in a particular year, you have another one to attempt in the given year. So those things help. I think it's a step in the right direction, and those things definitely help. Um, now, now see here, there's a recommendation of, now we are going into the topic of how, okay, so you're sold on CFA, you want to do CFA, you understand that there are different topics, you understand what type of expectation is for level 1, 2, and 3 and everything. But one of the most important question that probably people who are starting their journey, their face is that how do I go about it? Like, how do I know that, which attempt should I be attending? So you have four options: Feb, May, August, November. Like, should I target August? Should I target November? Those questions come in when you are trying to start this journey. So let me try and help and answer that to the best of my capabilities. How you can um, go about that experience. So yeah, so just skimming through in terms of the cost. So this, you can find all those material costs and everything online. I'm just skipping through the next part where I want to talk about the study commitment and the preparation. Okay, so first of all, what I want you to do is, if you're starting on this journey, understand your own personal experiences. So say, have you done any qualification like CPA, FRM, CA? So all those qualifications. Number one, based on that, you need to understand your own study pattern, how you went about that journey. Are you someone who is okay with self study, or are you someone who needs coaching? So and then then you have to answer question that, what if during your preparation, typically based on how you are as an individual, during your preparation, how you do you whenever you have gone about preparing those things, did you find it easier? Did you find it easier to kind of go with the go with go with kind of a a coaching mentality? Like, are you someone who's good with, if they are given a coaching and given point of time and then they've been able to crack an exam, or are you someone who has done self study? So for me, I completed my CA, and then I started somewhere along the line. I started my CFA journey along with that, and then um, I went about the whole journey without coaching, right? So I did all the self study myself at home. Whenever you have had questions, I would reach out to the seniors in my field. Friends who are already attempting the same exam, and try and solve. And if there's some challenges there, then there are a lot of resources available online. And the things back in compared to back in 2018 to, if I were to say right now in 2025, things have gone better in terms of resources and the options that you have available, right? So first you get that psychological thing set. What do you want to do? Do you want to go about your do you want to go about your journey, your own thing of self coaching or self study, or do you want to go about the coaching journey? Once you have that thing question finalized, what I want you to do is, I want you to understand the different options that are available to you. So what I would do is, I was just speaking to a friend yesterday, and I guided him on the same lines. Is that uh, I recommended to him that you take the books, be it 2023, 2024, doesn't matter. If someone who is with an old portion as well, you take those books, and then you plan. Say for example, he's planning his exams CFA level in August 2025. So now based on that, you have typical hours. Now you start jotting hours, the hours for you on a given during day. If you're working, right, and you have your own personal commitment for 2 hours a day. So on a working day, how much hours can you give it to yourself? The major chunk of it, those hours are going to come in from the weekend. So like it or not, if you're going down this journey of CFA, your weekends are going to be sacrificed to a lot of extent. It doesn't mean you stop going out and everything, but it's just those have to be selective and reduction in terms of times. So now you have an hours. Then you had that, in a given particular week, during a work week, I'm going to have X hours. Plus, I'm going to have Y hours over a weekend, which is going to the major chunk of it. Now you have an hours study over the week. And now you have, how many weeks are you away from August, right now? So based on that, you would, work at, okay, I have this much hours. Okay. And then based on that, looking at the portion, you would divide time to each portion. So you take a look at the books, start, and this is where that that experience of, say, if you're done FRM or if you're done CA, those things come in handy, because some topics invariably you are gonna have it easier on you. Like, say for example, if you have completed CA back in India, you have got topics like strategic financial management, and so you have idea about what exactly is future, what is forwards, and you also are some versed with the basic calculation, how you can even go about it. So you have knowledge something of level 1 and some of level 2 as well. So once you have those base, it becomes a lot easier in terms of judging as to okay, if this those are the topics that is going to come in, I'll probably, so this topic I haven't even heard about anything what exactly is this topic. So in that case, I'll have to spend more time on this topic and less time on the other topic where I've heard about it, I know the basics of it. So that makes the journey a lot easier. So based on the hours, now you have got your timelines set that I'm going to spend X hours with ethics, so many hours with derivatives, so many hours with financial planning and management and everything. Now you start working towards it. When you start working towards it, give it a week or two, depending on the deadline that you have. So give it a week or two that you know put it into action. So right now, if you were to start preparing for that exams, start, say you're starting out with ethics, and then you are preparing, and you are learning and everything. Now, based on that timeline, take a judgment. In a week's time, you had allocated so many hours. How many hours did you actually manage to complete on your own? And if you allocated that, you would be able to get done with 2 chapters of ethics. In that case, are you done with those 2 chapters? Once you have those things in mind, that will help you in terms of understanding your own capability and your own study patterns. That some people might invariably be able to give more hours during the week. So sometimes people may, and that happens with a lot, is that if you plan for 10, you might be able to give only 7 hours, right? So based on that, you take a realistic judgment that now, if I am here, I've tried this for 2 weeks, now where do I see myself? Do I see myself giving the August 2025 attempt, or November seems more realistically? So those questions. So this way you don't spend a lot of money in terms of preparing and then regretting later if you're not able to get through it. So it's important, this way you can save money and plan wisely. So this is probably the way you can go about how do you tackle the study and deciding the question that which month attempt are you practically will be able to target, right? Because these are not cheap exams. They cost a lot of money. So you make sure that whichever attempt that you decide to go, you're going in with your full preparation and with full of your capability, right? So having said that, we'll move on to the next topic about the course material and the resources. So what's going to happen? So when you register for your exams, what the CFA Institute is going to do is they're going to give you ebooks, right? So whatever topics that you have, ethics, derivatives, everything that you see, they are going to give you a course material themselves. And if you want to have a physical book, in that case, you need to purchase it separately. And also keep in mind, these ebooks and everything, they are like restricted in terms of print and stuff. So you may not be able to print the entire thing out, depending on how much they permit you to print and everything. So be mindful of that, basically. So in terms of, if you are very much a person who likes to have books in hand and then study from them, what is going to happen is the third party providers. So institute material it's a lot lengthy. It's going to cover everything that you need to know. That's true. But what's going to happen is, those 350 hours that you are targeting a week, if you were to go with an institute book, in my personal opinion, that's going to fall short. Because what's going to happen is, they cover topics to such extent and such length that they might be able to invariably deep diving into a lot of topics, something that may or may not be asked in the exam. So third party providers, like for example Schwezer. So um, Schwezer has been one of those very key, preparation guide for people across the globe. So back when I did my preparation, it was extensively through Schwezer. So what happens typically is that in Schwezer you have your whole the whole content. There are books like the entire ethics, derivatives, financial planning, and all of those things. And then you also have something called a summary book, which is called the secret sauce. So this kind of summary books, they are helpful a lot, especially closer to the exams, because keep in mind, you are whatever those 8-10 subjects that you are seeing in a particular level, you are giving them in a 1 day exam. So that secret sauce is going to help you in terms of summarizing the whole thing, right? And so what do I recommend in this situation is that, what I recommend is that, in when you have when you have those preparation book like Schwezer, my recommendation would be to go with them. It's been they have been there in the industry since ages, and a lot of people, including myself, have relied on them extensively, and studied for it. But there are downfalls to it too. So what are the downfall? What's going to happen is when you are, especially when you are in the time when you are like working on solving each of those question sets, some variably in one or the other questions, you're going to stumble across something that the Schweizer's books are not covering. So now this is that deep dive part of the institute book, which, this third party provider like Schweizer might keep it out. That, they think it's a little too detailed, and that's what they're trying to minimize the thing that, they want you to learn. So invariably, what's going to happen is, don't let those one and two questions drag you down whenever you're doing your preparation, as that, when this so take a learning, understand that question, but don't get stuck on it. So, it's, you have to be okay with that mindset that, when you're preparing and you're relying on those third party providers, there is some small portion of the book that you're leaving out, that you're, even if you have read everything in Schwezer, there's some portion of the book that they are not covering, from the main institute book. So you have to be okay with that uncertainty. You are not, you are trying to you're trying to clear a level, right? So it doesn't matter if you clear a level at 56 or at 96. No, it's going to come you in question and know how, where did you lose that 4 marks. So when it comes to clearing, attempting those questions and attempting in exams, I think this is the resource that you should be going for. Now, for people who have typically are on the board that, what, I need coaching. I need someone to tell me that, hey, this is the concept, this is how you can go about it and everything. Everyone has a different style. So what you can do is, there are resources such as FCT, EduPristine, Sanjay Saraf, and those are kind of some of the providers who do. Now the best part of it is, like for example, Sanjay Saraf, those people have, you have an option to even access them back even here in Canada, and the fees is obviously a bit higher if you are accessing outside India, but it's still okay. So typically, if you were to say approach someone who's conducting coaching, say in Canada or US, it's going to be a lot of money. So, if you're able to find those resources and you're comfortable with those resources, you're going to save a lot of money in terms of coaching, because invariably INR and CAD, you are going to save a lot. So, right, so it's important that, they sometimes do also have their whole trial period, or some lectures where they give you access without even paying and everything. So, try and understand that, take whether, you are able to understand that person's study preparation pattern and all of those, and the resources that they are offering, right? So, and do you get access to, say, past questions? Are you able to ask professor questions? Is there, if you have difficulty, how do you reach out? So, those kind, ask those questions to those service providers, and that's going to give you a map way that, what, this provider fits my budget and fits my study requirement patterns. So, based on that, I think that's what you should be doing. Being From my experience, the way I went about is, I just got those, since I was also almost done with my CA preparation. So, yeah, and CA preparation. So the way I went about is, I yeah, I had a lot of clarity in terms of a lot of subjects that was covered, and this is something where I had an actual inclination. So even if on CFA you would get done with just understanding 70% of the portion, I would probably go and read about the 90% of the portion also, because I had an actual inclination towards this preparation. So it was easier for me to, grab things when it came to level 1 and level 2. So yeah, so based on that, I just did the Schwezer books. I did pick up some past paper questions from FCT. They had some past paper questions, so I tried solve a lot of them, especially during level 3, because it becomes a little critical in level 3 to, get into that flow and answer those questions. So I picked up those past paper questions from FCT, and that's how I went about my whole And secret sauce was like my go-to book during exam. Especially when you're preparing, if you're able to mark things that you need on the secret sauce. So think of it. If you're preparing for anything and you have this book called Secret Sauce, and then if you are reading this exam on your exam day, and if you are not good with, or you're facing difficulty in any of the topics, what information do you need on your exam day? So those, make sure you have those marking and those notes ready for you in terms of the secret sauce. So that definitely helped even in my in my preparation journey. And yeah, just to wrap up, one thing over here is there are even there are like providers like Bionic Turtle, which help a lot across. So they have it for CFA and FRM and a lot of things. So those things could be a lot helpful too. Having said that, okay. So why CFA, right? So in terms of CFA, it's when you go out and have discussions with the investment professional in Canada, one thing that you're going to see is that for a lot of roles, CFA is kind of a bare basic requirement. Either you should be, if you're in a junior roles, they might be still okay if you're pursuing CFA. They'll encourage you, they'll fund your fees and exam fees and everything, all of that sort. They'll give you time off during your exams because they want you to continue on a journey. But for a lot of senior roles, they want CFA as a base criteria. And that was probably the key thing that landed me a role in my first role in Canada, was all thanks to CFA, I can say. Because CFA was such a high prestigious course to be have completed, that anyone who's over here understands the value of it, and hiring managers and they place a lot of emphasis. So this is how I was able to crack my present role, was all thanks, I would say, to some of portion to my experience, but a good portion was that I was a qualified CFA. So that kind of helps a lot in terms of the whole thing. And it makes your life a lot easier. And even when you are say, if you're already in this role, if you're already in those investment roles and everything, so if you want to go about, have a promotion, progress in your professional life, CFA is going to become a bare minimum that that would be expected out of it. So having said that, what are the kind of roles that you're looking at? Portfolio manager, equity research, investment banker. So all those, uh, it depends on kind of your inclination, where you are leading towards. When I saw my career journey in terms of pursuing, say, on the pure practice side of a CA versus pursuing more on the the CFA side of things. So that's where I had a bit of inclination that if I want to go on those kind of roles, CFA is gonna become the thing that I'll be using to get an entry, and get an entry and get in here. So yeah, so that kind of becomes a given in your fields like asset management and financial consulting and risk analysis. So so it's kind of, even when you're looking at jobs, you're looking at those portals, you'll see those requirements of being a CFA or pursuing CFA and all of those kind of things. So it's gonna flow. You're gonna understand that okay, what, if I'm targeting this particular line, or if I want to pivot my career in this particular field, these are the things that I'll be targeting. So, and yeah, and just to wrap up the whole thing, is about joining a society. So what typically happens is that so CFA Society Toronto is one of the largest society all over the world. if you're here in an investment or equity research or those fields where you want to make your career in, they would have CFA and they would be invariably part of this society. So what happens with this society is, first of all, if you have cleared all your level 3, you have an option to apply for the charter. So when you have a charter, that's when you can actually use that you are a CFA, so and so kind of a thing, right? So once you have those charter, you have to decide that, which society are you going to be part of it. So, for example, CFA Society Toronto will have their own registration fees and everything that needs to be paid annually. But what it does is they give you access to a lot of professionals who you would not have access to otherwise. So, what these societies do? They have those regular events wherein with a particular theme. Say if they are talking something on the cyber risk, they are talking something on the on cryptocurrency mining, and a lot of things. They could have different sessions, and they could have, or say, economic update in terms of tariffs that's been discussed right now. So those, they would have those events and everything where people would get together and meet, and so this is where those events where you have access to those people who would normally have their own busy schedule, and you would not have access to them even if you're part of the same organization. So this kind of events becomes a kind of social thing that people are part of. You get to interact with them, you get to meet them, and you get to have that professional network for you, because anyone who is here in Canada understand that your professional network goes a long way in building your career journey. So it's just not enough if you have the degree, if you have experience. It doesn't work that way. You need to have people who are vouching for you, be it in your current team, be it the people that you have interacted with. So when you have those people vouching for you, and when you have those connections, it becomes they can like really make your career in a different trajectory compared to someone who is just sitting and applying for jobs on some LinkedIn, or on a career section on people's on the pages of those organizations. So this is where this things becomes important, is that those societies, those networks, and those events, they give you access to those people where you can like go forward, have their understanding. You can take a feedback on your own career journey, and okay, what, if I'm done this is where I want to go. Can you help me in terms of how do I patch those two things up? Do I need to complete some course education? Do I need to meet some people? How do I go about that journey? So those having someone in terms of bridging that gap between is kind of a key thing. And that's what this society is going to help you in terms of the whole journey. And they also have their own job boards, openings that may not be accessible to people outside, something that's typically not posted on careers and stuff. So that they could also have those things. And they also have a lot of resources that you can use. And that could be, probably if you're already in the field, there are some resources that you can use, and something that will be useful for you. So uh, having said that, I think that kind of completes the whole thing of how you can start your journey, what are the topics covered, how you can go about planning your CFA attempt, what are the things that you should keep in mind when you are appearing for your exams, and how once your journey is completed, what exactly value addition do you have in terms of becoming a part of those societies. So with that, I am at done with the content with me. And so if anyone has any questions or anything, they can be happy to open the floor, Udit bhai, if someone has any questions and anything. But
So, yeah, so there is a query from Kush Patel.
yeah.
Uh, so Kush Patel question is, while working on a different job profile, when you start
Yeah.
the CFA program, how does one start scouting for a job? And is it possible to get a job if you have cleared a level one or level two?
So it does help when you're on those junior profiles. Some whenever what for some of the openings, you might it'll be for some of the openings. Invariably, what happens is they might be okay if you're level 1 or level 2, and pursuing CFA level, because that's how they mention it in the job description. So and those time those openings might be a little tricky to get, because see, everyone is trying to get into that journey, right? It's just you along with a lot of other people that are out there, and everyone is probably, if someone who's, so there are a lot of people you will find on the same path. So while it's not entirely impossible, it's a bit of a difficult journey, but you can get there. So it's about putting in those efforts and um, working towards that. So it does help invariably for the junior roles, but once you go ahead in that path, once you start becoming senior and analyst and stuff like that, then the base criteria would be you need a CFA. So that's the kind of thing it goes. So if you're able to find any of those roles, and if you're able to get in, there's nothing like it, because they'll support you in terms of financially, also in terms of exams and leaves and everything. So and people are a lot growth oriented over here in Canada, especially from the people I've had interaction with. Is your managers are rooting for you. They want you to do better. They want you to progress in life, be it at their organization or other. So you have those people, you have that support that you need invariably from a lot of, from the people that I have interacted with, at least. So that helps, I guess. Yeah.
So any other questions? You can just unmute yourself if you have any questions for Jay.
Yeah. Hi, Jay. This is Sumit. I just joined a little late, so pardon me if I am asking something which has already been covered in the presentation. But as I heard you for the last few minutes, I was just, uh, a few things came to my mind. I thought I'd just ask you. So I am an investment professional, been in the investment management space on the research side, investment research,
Okay.
specifically on fixed income and credit research. So I have no experience on
Okay.
the equity side, purely credit research. And I've worked with buy side firms and research profiles, work on covering various sectors, etc. After coming to Canada, uh, I've been trying to be in the same space, but right now in corporate banking, which is sort of utilization of my credit skills in terms of lending, but not necessarily on the investing side. So just in
Okay.
terms of putting it all together, like networking, pursuing CFA. So I'm a CPA, by the way. So
Okay.
I heard from some people that CFA is regarded, but I'm a mid-career professional, mid to slightly higher side of the mid-career professional, 15 plus years of experience. So I
Mhm.
completed my level one here, just hearing from so many people that it needs to be done. But given a CPA is
Yeah.
zero and a level one, does that sufficiently, from an employer standpoint, give them comfort that yes, this is okay and sufficient academic to be really successful in the role, or even at mid-level with experience and still with having sort of these qualifications, they still expect somebody to complete a CFA and then apply for roles within the investment management space in particular?
So yeah, okay. First of all, great question. Thanks, Sumit. So if I were in your place, what I would try and do is, first of all, obviously try and complete the CFA as soon as possible, because what's going to happen is invariably when you are at a senior stage, or if you're trying to target those roles, it's going to say CFA as a preferred and everything. So whenever, if it is preferred, a lot of time it is kind of a bare minimum kind of a thing, and some profiles go out and say that this is the bare minimum. So but I think that is still okay. From your perspective and your professional career growth, I would say I am. I think what would add more value for you is that you've had those connections, and speaking with people and talking about your experiences. Because what is going to happen is invariably, whether we like it or not, whenever you're moving across countries, a lot of those experience that you have had back in India, there's going to be some discounting factor applied to it. It should not be the case, but that's how typically the market operates here. Is that even when you have solid experiences, things that you can display and everything, all of those kind of things that you have done this, you have had good references, fantastic references, and a glowing CV. But what is going to make you stand out of the crowd is having those connections, because those connections, especially when you are say, if I were you, I would target completing CFA, becoming part of the the CFA Society, and then start going on those meetings and meeting those people. So these are the people who would not typically give you out time, even if they are in your organization. They would not give you out time, to meet and stuff, like even for a coffee chat and everything that we try and do. So you'll have that big access to those those people and their thought process and the resources there. which is kind of invaluable for you if you want to pivot your career back in those roles. So yes, even that's how it is. So even in one of my coffee chats, someone came out bluntly and told me that your experience back in India doesn't matter. It's that own person's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It's like, he was more concerned about experience I had after coming to Canada. So it's some people do carry that mindset. So and think about it from a employer perspective. So if you're an employer, you are a VP in an investment firm, you are the head of research. If you have two options, someone who has had experience back in India and someone who has had experience working here, what is going to set you apart? How do you get from the rejected table to the accepted table? You will need more people to vouch for you. When you have had met people within their team, when you have had met those other managers, the colleagues that
Right.
probably your future colleagues, so you have more and more, and you have shared your experience. So what's going to happen is, paper doesn't speak. It's those experience and those connections that's going to be like really valuable, and you have more and more people vouching for you. That if there's a team structure of 10, you have met four of them, and their manager is hiring, and if they can put in a good word for you in terms of, I met the pay guy, might as well give it a shot. So you actually get into that door, from that rejected pile to having an actual interview or a coffee chat with the hiring manager. So that's where you kind of make that switch from there to here. So that's
Got it.
my.
So that's helpful, Jay. Just to follow up on this. So, like, what happens is, like, I've been doing these networking coffee chats with people, and it has helped a lot, by the way. There have
Mhm.
been instances where I met someone and that person posted the job, and them some things are still in the process, by the way. But the thing is, I was trying to understand, does this, I mean, meeting them introduces them to me like, okay, this is who Sumit is, this is what he has done in India, but it still does not cover the lack of local experience, sometimes exactly what you want to get into, right? You might be doing something else. So for example, I'm doing corporate banking right now,
Yeah.
not exactly on the investment side. So how just knowing someone and having met on the coffee chats covers that gap of relevant and completely relevant experience that I still don't have, right? I might be on the other side, like I am still, right? So how do we address that? Are employers open to still accepting people who still don't have relevant experience just by meeting them over coffee chats? Does that bridge the gap?
Yeah, fantastic question. This is something that someone recommended to me, a really good solution to this problem that I'm going to share with you. So that this one particular person, he was also coming in back from the equity, research background. So what they did was, they wrote an investment paper, like in terms of the research paper, on one of those publicly available information, one of those publicly available stocks.
Mm-hmm.
That person was an equity research, so it's again on that side of things that Uh, that's how they were able to, they wrote the whole thing, looking at the company, competitor peers and everything, and making sure that they're displaying that knowledge. They're displaying the knowledge as to, if you were part of this role, what would you do on a typical day? You would need to answer that. So say if you're writing research reports, at any given point of day for this particular role, which research report, which are they covering? Stocks, is it bonds, what are they trying to cover, and then try and pick a particular stock they might be looking at, or they might be interested in. Write this whole research report yourself.
Okay.
Make sure you have understanding, and make sure then you go and deep dive and understand as to, oh, you know what, you have a solid recommendation for them, that if this research reports come on their desk, they would be okay with it. So when you have that resource, so that's the same recommendation I got in mind, because I was into financial modeling a lot extensively, like real estate financial modeling and different types of financial models and stuff. So that was the recommendation that I got. You know what, prepare a financial model, send it across to me, and then we'll take it from there. And then I use that tool to get recommendation even from people. So if you're reaching out to someone random, don't tell them that, hey, what, just coffee chat and anything. Nope, stop there. What I want you to do is, I want you to go out there and ask that person that, what, I've written a research report on so and so, this thing. I'm trying to get into this field, and I want your recommendation, suggestion as to, if from where I am and where I want to be, how can I bridge this gap? And this is my report, and I would really love to have your thoughts and everything on this. So when you have something to display in terms of results, you are just not talking. You are now showing the results that needs to be go out there. And once you
Mm-hmm.
have that thing, that's going to put you different from anyone else who's just reaching out just before a coffee chat on a random LinkedIn message. So probably
Got
that's
it.
that's my.
No, no, that's helpful, Jay. That's useful. And just maybe last, so I leave space for others. But in terms of leveraging resources right now,
Yeah,
uh, I mean, I'm relatively new here. So, I mean, if I'm looking at an industry or a company I want to prepare research on, so are these, you know, investment brokers like Wealth Simple, etc. Do they offer research reports, etc., which I can leverage to build my local understanding of markets, industries? Let's say energy sector. If I want to just pick up energy sector,
correct.
write a report on it, understand how the space is set up. What are the
Yeah.
resources to leverage as someone who's preparing for these type of write-ups and interviews? Uh, I mean, if you have capital like a Bloomberg, etc., you can always access while you are in
Correct.
a professional setup. But if you don't have access to those type of resources yet because you are not in investment roles, then what are those resources to get access to these type of industry and company specific research?
Yeah. So one thing to go about is whenever you are writing those, so here the intention is to display out your originality, right? So I know those resources can be like really helpful in terms of how the whole paper is presented and everything. But so those investment platforms that you mentioned, well, simple. Those a lot of them have, some of them have access to Morningstar, if I'm not wrong. And so you can search for the platform that offers you research in particular, the particular stock or the particular bond that you are trying to rate and get your own working started. So that could be one thing. The
Yeah.
other thing was to other thing that I would recommend is probably this. So industry things are available a lot in terms of what the industry is doing. There's a lot of public domain information available. Try and connect the dots in terms of, so you're able to bring in some originality in terms of thought that you have read about this thing, you have read about this industry, you have read about the outlook, and and this company is in this space in this region. So how do those things talk? Because that's part of the thing that you will be doing either ways, right?
Yep.
So that's how that's how you can show your value addition as to despite the lack of resources, how are you able to get to those thing. And you can definitely highlight in this one of the one of whenever you are having those coffee chats and everything, you know what, I don't have access to cap IQ. This is not a Morningstar report, and but this is coming in from different public resources, and this is coming from my understanding of the industry and everything. There
Right.
could be some things that is out there that I don't know about it, and I'm
Mhm.
okay, I'm acknowledging that shortcoming. But this is the work that I've been able to present. I think that could probably set you apart from a lot of other things.
Jay, you know what? I actually went into an interview process, and what happened is I was fortunately like in the last 4 or 5 candidates, and it was a case study round. I did it. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it was the last 2 or 3 candidates presenting to the head of research at a firm. So what happened? I didn't make it. And after that
Okay.
interview, after I didn't make it, I had a follow-up call with the person who interviewed me, who was the head of research, and he gave me extensive feedback. And one thing he said is that the pieces that I put in lacked some information which was available. And then when I
Okay.
asked him what it was, I eventually came to the conclusion that I would not have gotten access to that type of information. It was a company going into distress sort of a situation. So I just thought that I would always be at a disadvantage even after reaching at that stage, because somebody who's already working at a TD or a Scotia or anywhere would have access to these resources, sell side, everything, right? And they would be able to make the whole story and the narrative in a particular way which appeals more to the PMs or the audience, right? So I was just thinking like, you know, just be better prepared. It's not about, you know, using those reports as a source of direction of my thinking, but as a source of information, because at least I'm not missing on the information side, not on the idea side, but at least on the information side. Um, and I mean, there was a company which lost some portfolio of, broadcasting channels and, things like that. But I didn't have access to that information because in Canada, Google, I don't find anything like this. Limited things available on Google in personal domain. So just while like any, even if it's like a brokerage platform which you think is good, like if you've tried or if you have any suggestions, just from that, like
Yeah.
I think interactive brokers or anything which you think is good, economical, useful, you know, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So personally haven't used them a lot extensively, but I think IBKR is the obviously, and then the other one is I think Questrade, where you might be able to have a lot of thing access for free. IBKR might give you one at cheaper subscription cost. So
Okay.
probably that could be worth a try, because IBKR is like extensive. They have everything that you could ask for. That comes with a cost, I think, but that monthly cost is an investment. That's a money well spent for you. So I think so particularly in the field that you are, probably that could be of help.
IBKR, you said, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I think just to clarify, so I am referring to like good brokers like Citi, Morgan Stanley, all those type of research that's available on IBKR.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have it myself, but I've from people I've interacted with, that's what I've been told, that they have the extensive, and those are paid. A lot of times those are paid, but they are a lot subsidized in terms of cost. So I think even if there is some cost, I think
Yeah, I
that
don't
would
mind.
definitely
Look,
work.
I don't mind because the thing is, look, when you're competing against these highly competitive roles,
Yeah,
like lack of information and you really are in a new place, you have to ramp up, understand industry, space. It
yeah,
really accelerates your path. Otherwise, you get a 5 days to prepare a case study and then you don't know about the industry as such. You don't know which case you're gonna get. So it just becomes sort of a, struggling for too many things at the last stage. But yeah, I'll probably explore IBKR and see
yeah.
and maybe take a trial subscription to see. But that's helpful, Jay. I'll see if I can connect with you on LinkedIn and maybe we'll meet in
Sure,
person over a coffee chat.
sure. Happy to
Thank you
help.
so much.
Happy to connect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there is another question from Kush.
Yeah.
Does so does just the CFA program help you advance in your career apart from the networking side? How does one try to get into investment industry without any practical experience?
Uh, Getting on the investment side is going to be so. See what's going to happen on the investment side. Who are the people who are usually getting in? Those are the people who have had MBA from Queen, Rotman, Schulich, and everything. So these are the people that are forming base and the major chunk part of it, that people who are working in the investments right now. I came in from private equity investment team, but not having those qualification, probably that's where I hit a wall in terms of getting back into the investments side of things. So what's in the way of, if you're able to, if you have a very serious pathway in terms of, that investment is where you're going to be, because it looks a lot glory, but trust me, it's a lot of, a lot of hours and everything, and it's a lot of grilling. So it's not as easy as it seems to outside. The money is great, there's no doubt about it. So that's where, people are trying to get into investments and everything. Some people may have, some people may not have that goal, but if you are, the easiest way would be to probably have an MBA from this, those big institutes, because uh, you know or Ivy Academy, so stuff like that. So that's where you are able to, you are guaranteed a foot in the door, kind of a thing. If you are asking just for a guaranteed solution, but that costs money. That costs money and time. Like it's those are, and then not everyone will have the resources, right? So um, the other would be to, keep doing what you're doing in terms of pursuing CFA, having making those connections, and having to have that just one connection give you a chance of, working on those sides, because that's going to be probably, a make or break situation. But so short way, go for the MBA. The long way, and probably where there's a very small probability, there is still a probability you can get in, there is no doubt about it, but is to, have those connections. If you're working, or if you're working, say, internally for a bank or stuff like that, so it's easier for them to, if you're or if you have, if you're working in an organization where they already have such an investment arm, or someone who is doing something related to that, you can try and have those connections and try and move those profiles. Because if you're working internally, you have your manager who is vouching for you, right? So you have your manager, your colleagues, right? So they're vouching for your work. So that way, if you're able to make an internal switch, that could be one way. Or the third way would be, the long way would be to get into an existing or similar profile, as close to as investments as you can, in one of the organizations that offers this kind of services, where those are the roles that you are targeting, and then try and get in those profiles. So these are the three ways: MBA, networking, and a third one is also like switch, and then again networking. So that's about that.
Jay, Sumit again here. Before I'm being stopped by Udit to say that
No,
time is up. I think for a mid-career professional like a 15 plus years of experience, I don't know if an executive MBA or a master's in finance or those type of courses can help anyways. But for that type of a profile, it's easier to get into maybe a closer profile, which I did, maybe getting into corporate banking and lending side, and then maybe switching over back into credit investments. But is that a fair thinking? And I'm doing CFA anyway, so I'm registering for CFA level 2. I did my level 1 last year. So is it sufficient you and then just continue to network, or you think even for mid-career professionals doing an executive MBA just to get a local stamping is still good and helps getting into relevant field?
So again, I've in terms of my professional journey, I'm not there yet. So just a big disclaimer in terms of I'm still just 8 years into the experience field, so I'm not there in terms of the experience that you have. But I've seen and I've seen people take a break from their I've seen people take a break for those executive MBA that you mentioned, and coming back and having promoted very quickly. Like I've seen those experiences happening, and so there's definitely a lot of value in terms of how people see those courses. So I think that's the limited knowledge that I have. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of baseline or something that could help you in this.
No
Um,
worries. No worries. That's helpful still. But I think, but MFin on the other side is not something which is, I think MFin is most of the people with less than 5 years of experience or around that type of experience, right? The Masters in Finance programs here.
okay. Yeah, I haven't explored a lot on the MBA side. So just from what I know in terms of if you want to get a short entry, I think MBAs, those in the initial part of your career, at least those MBAs from those institutes are definitely helpful. But I'm not so sure about if you already have experience, how do you get back in terms of that MBA, whether that helps or not. Haven't come across any journey that would probably point me in terms of that information. So
No worries. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. That's for helpful. Thank you.
no worries.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining Sunday morning. Thank you, Jay. Thank all participants.